Yeah. Cool. All right. Very good.
Even if you're not using sound.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Awesome. Thank you so much. Right.
Two.
Good morning, wherever you'd like. Do you have slides that you provided to Nancy? Perfect. So you're welcome to come up here. I don't know if we'll have enough seats for everyone. I can roll through your slides. If you wanna grab a microphone, she's on time. I know not everybody wants to sit at a desk, so you just kind of want to come up and present that way.
6,000.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Do you think?
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, it's 75. You don't miss.
So.
Are they still fighting over that airspace stuff?
No way.
But they're not necessarily working. Is that the web page? Social media going, right?
That didn't sound great.
For a West Coast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning. Are you doing great? We just wanted to-
He lives in Cincinnati. He lives in Cincinnati.
Hi.
Bagels, the red. Oh, Riverboat. Uh-huh. It's Cincinnati. Oh, okay.
She's a doctor. She knows all the.
Let's see, who do we know outside? Bickerington. It's outside of the line.
Baseball.
I do love this.
Nice to meet you, Bernie.
Congratulations. It's nice to meet you. Yeah. So, he knows me.
You want to stay here?
No,
Okay.
I don't want to be removed.
Right.
She's the tigress. Go ahead, honey, be a tigress. I want to be.
Oh, you want to be at the mic.
I want to be visible.
Oh, right.
So you can run it.
This is not.
Well, I guess everybody's got their best practice. Give me a bit.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for all your help.
In the front, make some noise. My wife and I live in two tires over the other front. Says one run is close to it. We were gonna go visit her anyway. She's like, "You're gonna be the last supposed to be." I said, "No." Yeah, the birds are some years.
What else?
Yeah, I didn't. He always says, "It's not a trash."
I'm doing like. Oh. Okay. It's for you. And what you and what you Okay, well, you're doing great. Well, you can serve a second.
Like, yeah. He really didn't want to have me.
So did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, since-
You don't love it.
I showed Berkeley the slides that I have. The event from Wednesday night, I have pickleball, I have just a picture of the two of you with, Alan and Annabelle. I just pulled them on Facebook.
That's fine. Plenty to talk about there. Yeah.
Good, good. So you guys are out Andy and, just the whole idea is taking your best practice to the next level. Yes, have a fun event, raise money, but how to handle it.
Very easy.
Okay, if hello, good morning, good morning. If everybody could take a seat, we'll get started here shortly. Hear me? Good morning, everybody. Can hear. Now, can you, okay, now you can hear me? No, nope. That one's on?
Hello.
Giving us your thoughts and suggestions for future sessions and webinars. Here we approach you this morning. We all talk about best practices, and we do have our best practices on your dashboard. Sessions on best practices. The board took a great idea when the committee's meeting is, Nancy, let's take this up a notch. let's take our best practices and see how they help us recruit new members and for unions and supporter members. So again, it's all about taking it up a notch. Yes, have a wonderful event, but fundraiser, but how is it helping the council? So we're excited, board is going to start off talking about some of their best practices and how they use that to grow the council. And Andy Mullen from Florida is going to talk about revitalizing the councils. Brent and Berkeley are going to talk about some of their fun events and yet how they do those fun events to take it to the next level. And then lastly, and we're just really happy to have a host from Dallas, David Alford, will talk about some of the best practices right here in the next. We want to thank you so much. It's been a fantastic convention, beautiful venue, it was with that.
Morning. Morning. My name's Ward Cook. Taking help. You all can help me. I have an addiction, and the addiction is to do special events that bring in members. So, and attract attention to me. In Kansas City, you may realize that we're paying bucks. It's true. We're as far away from the ocean as possible. And so we are desperate. And for years, we've looked at any opportunity to try to support our active duty, to try to attract people. What can we do that's different, out of the ordinary to attract people? And, you know, these events are great. And they really do attract people. But the challenge, I think, for everybody, is not only to do the event, but follow up. How do you follow up that event with corporate membership, with increasing your membership, and whatever you can do to build your house. Next slide. Oh, okay. So many of you already heard me talk about our friends and family, you can tell those are past. So we partnered with the air show in Kansas City. They have Green Angels every other year. And we set up, this will be our 5th time, so we've done it, you know, last 8 years or something. We partnered with the air show. We found out that, you know, the air show reached out to us and said, we have Green Angels, we need your help. Said, hey, we would love to help, but how can we be of service to you? Well, when they listed all the stuff that they're responsible for, Angels, one of the things on the list was friends and family. And of course, their responsibilities, jet fuel, oil, all that, rest of tables, all that comes before the friends and family. Well, in our book, friends and family tend to come first, because all these Relation crew, they spend 300 days a year on the road. And they won't get a chance to see their friends and family. We found out, actually, a lot of their friends and family are in the Midwest. And the first time we did it, we had friends and family drive 6 hours away to Kansas City to our friends and families. And that was kind of gained a reputation that Relation crew would tell the next crew, and the next crew, so we kind of got the reputation. So what we do is we set up VIP tent on Friday practice, charge $100 so they can be, you know, Jack Stack barbecues, that barbecue, so you want that. But it's a catered event. It's we go front and center. They get the entire air show. It's VIP parking. It's a whole bit. And that money that we raise at that event, which is around $25,000, goes to support friends and family tent the next 2 days. We also have volunteers that work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. this event is truly amazing and it's grown organically over the past years. And now, you know, CEO of Majors came up to me 2 years ago and said, thank you. Thank you. Sometimes all we get is no more than 10 by 10 a case of water. This is truly special. They get catered lunch, they get all the beverages they want. They had the tent that we had on Friday for Saturday and Sunday. So it's truly, it's like a corporate tent at these air shows. It's right down center line. And it's a great way to thank the friends and family for what they do to support cleaners. So that's a great event. You do a great job putting that on. And now it's kind of church. One of our challenges, and we continue to challenge ourselves on this, is how do we take the successes of that and turn it into membership, corporate membership? We're still challenged with that, and we continue to work on it. And I would say the key word in that is persistence. These folks support the friends and families and we have an in. We just have to convert that and make them understand that what we do, the Angels is only a part of what we want to do in the larger scale for our Navy, Marines, Commercial Coast Guard. And hopefully, through explaining that in our persistence, they'll see that, well, this is just one part of a bigger picture. I also want to mention Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City does an amazing thing. They have Navy ball, just like a lot of us do. Navy ball is a big deal. It is like the premier event. So what they've done, they have made their membership tied to their Navy ball. So if you want to go to the Navy ball, you got to join the Navy. And they build corporate membership around that Navy ball. So the sponsors of the Navy ball then can also become their corporate members of their Navy. So they build everything around. They found it, and just like we did with the financial tent. They found a popular event. They built around that popular event. So when you find something like this, I encourage everybody to try to find ways to maximize that to its fullest potential. How can we take what we've done and explain? Final thing I'll mention is ship conditions. So this is something that I preach to anybody that listens. Ship conditions are wonderful. They're a great way to expand what people know about the Navy League and for people to understand how important it is to support active duty sales. And it's a wonderful thing to be a part of because you got the monthly circumstance. But the toughest job today after the mission, okay? Not only do you have to adopt the ship, take care of the sailors on board the ship, how do you take the popularity of that commission, turn that into membership, corporate membership, and eventually a stronger Navy League at home? Because a stronger Navy League at home only supports the active duty in your adoption, right? So it's an important element that concentrate on the follow-up. And I think the best thing to do in doing that is explain to everyone during the process of the mission that our mission doesn't stop at mission. Our mission goes for the life of that ship. We have to continue to support the sailors on board that ship for its life. And it is the mission of this Navy to support them long term. It's not just to have a chairman's reception, post-commissioning reception, or a sponsored luncheon. It's to make sure they have picnics when they arrive home, or when they take care of the spouses luncheon. We do family picnics. We just sent barbecue out for a change of meeting for USS Kansas City. It's a long-term relationship, so kind of look at it like marriage, right? You don't get stopped in marriage on wedding day. you have to commit yourself to a long-term relationship with the ships and those sailors, and understanding that long-term relationship, I think is an important element of the commissioning process. And hopefully they get that. And hopefully the people that are involved with commissioning understand that excitement that they have for commissioning the ship, and that is a connection that they may have with their namesake or whatever it may be. Could be a long-term relationship. It's something that could be incredibly appreciated by the group. So if that relationship is something that needs to continue to be. So I'm happy to take any questions, sir. Oh, yeah, sorry. This is us at the Blue Angel tent. And this is USS Missouri Commissioning. Add that. I guess I was supposed to be flight there, you know. And this is the Navy ball on the city. The Navy said, so. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, yeah. These, so does anybody have a particular event in their council that you could build off of that you haven't mastered? Allenby, Fleet Weeks, that's a good example. So what are you doing with Fleet Weeks to try to maximize that event?
Well, first of all, we have a luncheon for the sailors that are coming in. We try to give them some awards for Sailor of the Year, whatever we can, and then we try to organize and sponsor ship tours. If possible, we'd like to get a ship ride into it, coming in, going out. But some activity that the Navy League can actually sponsor and support to get new members in.
Test is on. So Ward, I just wanted to add to what you were talking about in Kansas City. When we do the Blue Angel show, we also have the Sea Cadets come out, and they go after the business. I mean, these kids are out there talking to other kids. I'm not sure how many new kids we got from that, but I think it was a pretty good deal for them. Yep. And the other part about the well, we have the scholarship, which is an ongoing thing for the USS Kansas City and the commissioning. So that's going on for the life of the ship too. So we're constantly in contact with them. So sorry.
So we, when I was in command of USS Comstock, LSD 45, was my first real exposure to the Navy League, and the Virginia City or Reno Navy League were just outstanding. And what they had was a scholarship that they went to the Junior Sailor of the Corps, Senior Sailor of the Quarter, had us come over for an event, and CO could come out, family and all that. And that just built, I was taking over what was already a strong relationship with the Comstock that continues to this day. And I just never forgot all the support that the council gave to me and my shipmates. We had them, when we went up to Fleet Week, come over to actually come down to San Diego. They brought a bunch of computers and bar stools. And that was important because we were trying to expand the number of computer drops we had on the ship to support the Navy and Marine Corps when we got ready for our deployment. And we had to have a place for them to sit. So they had some used bar stools and we refurbished them. And it was just like a bunch of slot machines inside there. It was great, you know. And we called it the Reno, back then the Reno Council Learning Center. But we took a bunch of Navy Leaguers on board the Comstock. They rode with us up to San Francisco for Fleet Week. and both the crew and the Navy Leaguers had a great time.
Oh, something that.
I probably don't need this, Bob Color.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob Color from Kansas City. Ward came up with another idea. Maybe he can talk about this. We had a, sort of a flight simulation thing for the high school kids. And, they all, you can explain how it took place. We also had a premiere for, Top Gun in a movie. So those two events, I think, I'm the vice president of membership for Kansas City. That really helped us get some new faces to an event. And we got quite a few new members out of those events. So maybe you should explain those.
In conversations, very the group that's organizing the event. Do the following, to make the phone calls. Hand out challenge points at the event and say, hey, would you be interested in joining the Navy League or coming to our next event and finding out more information? I mean, just that little effort. It's a big deal. We had the Navy band, I was just talking to Dave Miller. We had the Navy band concert a few months ago. And I went around and introduced myself and handed out some points. We got 4 or 5 members out of that event. So working those events and trying to find people and explaining what the Navy League does. I don't think a lot of people know what the Navy League does. And I think we could do a better job of explaining our mission. And once they hear our mission, I think people get excited about mission because the mission is so pure and so good.
So Larry Salter, I'm the Senior National Vice President, but I've also been on the Bremerton Olympic Peninsula Council Board for 21 years. And so we've done a bunch of stuff. And the key is to just get your name out there. So simple things like at the Chamber Military Appreciation Day, we have a Navy League booth. And we are the lead organization for the largest veterans celebration in the state. Usually get 1,200-ish kinds of people to the Kitsap County Fairgrounds, and we're the lead organization on that. So, whenever we do anything, Navy League banners prominently displayed, and, whether you can follow those breadcrumbs to a no kidding new member, it gets a little challenging, but getting the name out there is going to help. And that's, and that's the key is whenever you do something, make sure the Navy League is prominently displayed and gets the credit due for what they're doing. Anything from, we do monthly luncheons, we do an Armed Forces Day gala, put on collect about 25 to 30 grand, host all the military folks and their families or sailors of the year, whatever they want to bring. And, again, banners all over the place, membership applications around the place. So just take advantage of whatever you're doing to put out application information and to make sure that the Navy League Council that's putting in all the effort is getting the credit for the effort.
described in your mind, you can follow. Right after.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm Jess from the New York Council. One of our most effective membership recruiting tools during Fleet Week is free. VIP tours. In New York for Fleet Week, we get lines that are a few hours long for the general public tours. So here comes the New York Council with a little paddle to collect our VIP prearranged tour folks. Navy allows 20 people on the tour at a time. You're going to get some no-shows. So we've got that captive audience in the general public line to pull a couple bodies and say, hey, would you like to join our tour? By the way, this is what the Navy League's about. This is what we do. Interested? Here's a QR code. You can join right now while we're waiting. This Fleet Week, we got about a dozen new members that way.
That's right. Sense sales. Good point. Sense of this.
Mighty Mo.
Good morning, Ward. Great dinner last night, wasn't it? We had dinner last night. It was really good. One of the things that sometimes we don't, at least I'll speak for myself, don't necessarily think about is doing outbound reach. And I'll give you 2 examples. So up in Minnesota, I'm Bill James from the Minnesota Council, land of hockey up there. So the University of Minnesota, Big Ten, has a unbelievable, facility dedicated just to hockey. It's amazing. And lo and behold, the Naval Academy has a hockey club. So one of our Naval Academy alumni members contacted the Naval Academy and said, would you like to come out here and play a scrimmage game against the University of Minnesota? And they said, we'll get back to you. And they came back and said, we can do this. The Navy will pay for us to come out. We need some help on your end, but we'll bring the team and we'll schedule it. And we put it into Mariucci Arena, which is a hockey arena on campus, and it was free hockey. Now, if you live in Minnesota and you have the opportunity to go watch free hockey, it's amazing. And so we set up tables and booths and alumni associations and the Navy League, and we got donors and sponsors to come in and be with us. So I had like Wells Fargo and US Bank there, and 3M came with swag. They were like handing out fun things for the population, and we just booked business. We booked new member business because we got a fun event. It's free, and they get to see the Navy hockey team, which is a club sport. So they don't play division hockey. It's a club sport at the Naval Academy, but they're playing, one of the teams from the University of Minnesota. It was a, super evening. Yeah, we just built that into the plan. This coming November, we have the Naval Academy Glee Club coming to Orchestra Hall in Minneapolis. So they're going to sing in Orchestra Hall there, and we'll be on site, with our table and information and membership and QR codes and so on and so forth. So you can do outbound reaches. You can call people in the Navy and say, hey, we're so-and-so, and we'd like to partner with you, and how could we put a program or an event or an opportunity together?
That reminds me. So the Academy Alumni Association puts on an event for each I hope is also Navy League will continue to sponsor and co-sponsor, excuse me. That's a built-in event for also, which is the council we're trying to build to bring in membership. And so we're hoping that with support of an event like that, that can boost membership with the council inside. So looking for those opportunities to help boost membership in councils that are struggling. It's always helpful. Now to make
Good morning, Norma Emilio, New York Council as well.
To piggyback off the Naval Academy angle, no matter how big or small your council is, there's going to be somebody within your region, within your community. There's going to be a parents club for the Naval Academy. And that's an easy email to a very excited parent asking, who's going from the area. Next weekend, I'm going to go to their welcome aboard picnic in New York. I'm bringing some challenge coins, and I'm just going to shake the hands of each one of these entering midshipmen. I'm going to shake the hands of their parents. I'm going to sell the Navy League. And I'm hoping to get some younger people out of that, some excited, active parents. And I think everybody in this room has that opportunity, whether you're landlocked, whether you're having a fleet week. So reach out to the parents club in your area. I think it's a quick Google, Naval Academy Parents Club, wherever you live, and see what comes up.
And city, years ago, we had 3 groups, the Academy Alumni Association, the Association of Navies. All 3 of us were going, and we recognized them. So we partnered together and we do events together. So Blue Angel event is really an event that we put on, the Navy puts on, but we involved very heavily the Academy Alumni, the association. So partnering with groups like that, Spouses Club, the Academy Alumni and Association of Naval Aviators is one way to put on these big events. So it's not just on you, but it could help all 3 organizations. Why couldn't that individual join multiple ones? I mean, if the person you're trying to bring in is from of the academy, as an naval aviator, they could join all 3. Maybe.
I will freely admit I live in a target-rich environment. But Tacoma Council started their own Army-Navy game. It's baseball, but they recruit the teams. They pit the Army versus the Navy and make a whole big thing. They put it in the Major League Stadium.
You talked about setting up a booth. I'm a employer support a garden reserve rep, and we have a tablecloth that says ESGR on it. We need to have tablecloths that say Navy League that we can order. And that way we identify who we are when we set up a booth.
Hi, Bert Quintanilla with the Alamo Council in San Antonio. We are in a rebuilding phase still after the pandemic. And we used to have a very strong Alamo Council, but through aging out and all, we're in a rebuilding stage. One of the unique things about San Antonio is it's an Army and Air Force town. And so when I show up as the leader of the Navy League, there's not a lot of oxygen in the room. And unless you have a fat checkbook, you get to sit along the wall instead of at the table, sort of thing. But we're trying hard. And what I've been able to do is develop a synergy of trying to get the Navy League back out in the front and in the public eye through various piggyback events. And so I'm on the advisory committee or advisory council for veterans in San Antonio, the District 9 representative. So that gets me a seat at a lot of tables, and I try to leverage that. There is fruit being borne by the tree. And that is in September, the World Heritage Foundation, which has got their mitts now on the Alamo as a World Heritage site, as well as the missions in San Antonio. And I'm going somewhere with this because there's the deep pockets. There's where I'm trying to piggyback on their checkbook. And they have agreed that they run out of airspace with the Air Force and the Army. So in September, they're going to hold their annual World Heritage Foundation Festival in San Antonio is the 8th one, and they're going to focus on the Navy. And just to show you sort of inside baseball stuff, it came down to, well, what movie are we going to show? Because the city of San Antonio has purchased an old outside movie theater, taken out the asphalt and all that stuff, put in grass. And they're going to be they show movies there in the evening. Well, in September, the balance came between, is it going to be Top Gun, Aviators, or is there going to be a real good movie like Greyhound? Right, saying Greyhound? Special effects on Greyhound were magnificent, but then we ran against the impediment that I guess it's Apple owns Greyhound, and they will not let that go out of their clutches. So we're back to Top Gun. But that's a pleasing movie and all that kind of stuff. To again bring synergy to it all, the University of the Incarnate Word in San Antonio. So I found out through a Naval Talent Acquisition Group Advisory Committee meeting that I'm a member of, has a contract with the Army to develop drone technology, the flying drone, and the swarm strategies that go with it. So folks in South Texas looked with jaundiced eye at you folks in Dallas who put on that magnificent, weird drone show during the celebration of the New Year. Everybody remember that? Anybody see that, Dallas? Well, you can Google that and see where Dallas accentuated drones, and in the night sky, they did all this pirouette and all this other stuff. So I was watching, and we're going to try to leverage that type of technology through the University of Incarnate Word. So Navy League San Antonio, Alamo Council is going to sponsor a STEM event on Friday, 11 August, partnered with the University of Incarnate Word. And this STEM event is 2 phases, morning and afternoon. The morning is going to be for high school students. ROTC is the goal, as well as Boy Scouts of America, the Girl Scouts, all of the youth organizations and their parents are invited as well. And in the afternoon, we're going to be talking about who didn't get a chance to go to the morning session, as well as who in the delayed entry programs, if there are any left, because they're signing on Friday and leaving on Saturday these days. We're going to try to outreach to the community. So the strategy I've identified for San Antonio, because lunches just don't work anymore for us. Even if I went to a Chinese restaurant, all you can eat $15 out the door, still hasn't worked because folks just don't have the time or the inclination to do that. So we're going after the young crowd. We're going to try to lay the seeds at the high school level and the college level and see where we can go with this. But the idea being to leverage STEM and leverage Navy and use somebody else's money and somebody else's facilities to try to get out in the front rather than some sort of organic Alamo Council kind of thing. One of the things we feel strong about, of course, is the constituency of ROTC units. And I have 8 active duty maritime commands, Coast Guard, Navy, which is primarily medical, and the cryptology people. I don't even know if they're their real names, and we write stuff on their certificate, crypties are. But that's what we're trying to do, but it's at the planting the seed level again.
Boss, and of course, we're intense. We're glad to take in the Air Force, the Army, as members of Navy League as well. And I just want to say on a personal level, I'm glad you're also rebuilding the Alamo. It's like you're going to need some. So good luck.
Oh, well, it doesn't need help. They're trying to throw out all the cheesy stuff, and well, we like the cheesies.
That joke. Okay, thank you all very much, and I'll turn it over to.
Thank you. Yes, and so, you said your best practices here, we have the best practices section on the dashboard. If you want to get started, ideas. First, I want to thank you so much because, what you talked about was taking a council that is, struggling and how do you use best practices to bring that to mind. Perfect segue to our next speaker, Andy Mueller. And he's with Central Florida, and he's the region president of Florida, and he's done just exactly that over the years, working with the team to bring back from us. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
same stuff that works actually presentation is leads right into Elvis. They have some of the ones that I think are different. There are 2 webinars that we did that are posted on the training site that are really good. We're sitting in a car with a podcast. They got some podcast that my daughter and son-in-law have helped us with. But they're actually really good. I listened to the second one we did before the regional meeting. I think I listened to it 3 times. And every time I listen to it, I get something new. It's very much like the dynamic in this room. People getting excited. They're talking about, hey, I did this, you can do that. So I would encourage you to go to that website, our Navy League training website, and listen to this podcast next time you're driving somewhere 35 minutes and you're tired of listening to pressing news. Tune into that podcast and there's some great stuff. So what I did to prepare for this, and it's great following work, I went back through those podcasts and noticed that I took all the different things that we have done with collecting ideas and then tried to just highlight it. So I have 2 slides with some pictures. The biggest thing that I think we found was when I took over, my command was done and just started to build ours. That really had almost died in its base number. Actually, probably those words. Training center, with our school, the base got closed. It really killed it all. And counties, I'm saying this to, he says it was 6 guys in an oxygen tank. Quotes me on that. But I'm very thankful for those 6 gentlemen that kept it alive. They kept it alive and they needed this kind of stuff. So training, available time, this is 20 years ago. The Navy League has done a phenomenal job with these kind of events, collecting best ideas, but more than collecting them and then, hey, the meetings are over and forget some promulgating these things, following up like Ward said. That was not available to me. Probably many of you in this room that have been a long time Navy. We just had to go it alone. So people could make it work and so people just died on the line. And that's pretty sad. So the good news is there's some great ideas out there. I think anybody can rebuild a council, but you can't do it in a cookie cutter. I think the other thing I learned from this, just talking to all my councils in Florida and these type of events for the other people, don't go into it thinking like I have to do it the way the Alamo Council did or Port Canaveral did or whatever else, because it doesn't work. There are certain types of templates that you can use and say, I love the one of let's capitalize on a big event. That's a phenomenal one. Every area has big events. Every area has young people. We haven't run out of young people. I get a little frustrated if the councils go, woe is me, I can't revitalize my board because they're all old. Well, those are people that are very experienced, but they need to mentor young people. And we're going to talk about that, especially at work. So that was the each council is unique. I think we're covering that a little bit. And yeah, actively sharing, I think is something that I think as a regional president, I don't see that enough. I know our area presidents are tasked with that. I think we can do better at the regional level. Fire, we're making really great progress. So when I say actively share, people have seen councils that they're doing great. You know, they're on every cylinder. But they don't necessarily inwardly focused. They don't necessarily want to go. Maybe it's competition, or maybe it's I'm just too busy. They're thinking about themselves, and they're not thinking about how can I help my other councilors right down the road, help them to not go out of business, but help them grow. I don't think it's competitive. I think you got to think about it as let's make 5 acres so everybody can share. And likewise with organizations that this was mentioned previously, don't be afraid to partner. Don't look at other organizations that are doing similar work, be it veteran aligned work, charity type work. You want to embrace those guys and embrace those organizations. You don't compete. Don't say, well, I can't do this because AUSA is. No, you get together and say, let's do an armed forces day. Let's do something together. Let's celebrate our war fighters and celebrate our spouses or veteran spouses. Let's celebrate our youth partners. Be surprised at how this thing works.
We share events with the Naval Order, for instance.
Again,
We share events with the naval order and vice versa.
yeah, of course.
So, you know, and they happen to be members of our council and we're part of their organization too.
Everybody can do that. Do my. Say.
Bill Stevens from distant San Francisco Bay Area. And what we've found is that, you know, Bay Area has an enormous naval history and there are a number of organizations there, such as the Naval Order, which are relatively strong. So the Naval Order makes it a point to include us in all their meetings and we reach out to them as well. So then we share our memberships. We have a Rear Admiral who's in the Naval Order, but it's also in our council. And, you know, we do things together, dinners, lunches. We try to capitalize on each other's events. We're sharing the same problems. We realize that in a membership, getting young people together. So we exchange ideas and work together as much as possible to generate a camaraderie of naval folk together, working together to make something happen. People have ideas, they got on that, and they bring in, we found this in Central Florida, Mike Micro, recent past presidents. Very connected to the Air Force, he was a career Air Force officer, but then he ran AUSA, the Army Association in Orlando, because it was fun. So they brought him as an Air Force guy to help do the recovery, and it has helped them kind of rated the ship, so to speak. We had, one of my bosses when I worked at Portland, and Colonel Jeff Jansen, West Point graduate, had never done anything, served in SOCOM in the Army, and all that stuff, never really did much with the Navy, except they funded us for driving the Grand ships, but he became one of our best presidents. So I think it's not just sharing events, it's sharing talent. Somebody is really doing great in membership, let's say, building membership, and they happen to be with AUSA. Wait a minute, say, why don't you talk to us at a training session? Anyway, that's an idea. We talked about fundraising and sustaining donors a little bit. We've had some pretty good luck. I heard some good ideas in here too about where you get sustaining donors. One of the things we weren't doing well for years in our council was we were kind of every event we would have to go to sustain donors, and we would get them up over our to get donor fatigue, basically. The other thing is just administratively, probably some of you work in large companies have a charity budget, whatever you call it, community outreach budget. I used to run corporate developments. I got tired of filling out the paperwork. Even if I liked what they asked for asking me, I think it was Lisa Coe, I'll credit her for that anyway. Who came up with this idea of corporate membership. I'm sure she wasn't the person who invented it, it was the first person. So we do like one ask to get into the budget cycle. Make sure the ROI, return on investment, is there for them. When I have had to do it, or someone else had to do it, I have to go through my big bosses in this corporation and say, they ask questions like how much is Acme Corporation's logo? They may or may not care about your mission, but they care about their ROI. Hey, you're gonna show this to the Mayor's Veterans Advisory Council, we're gonna have 5,000 people there, we're gonna have 500 in the big involved. Really what they care about is who are the big influencers that are gonna be at that event. How many times are you gonna put in my logo, what kind of VIP access? May or may not care about your mission, but it's in this survey about that because she really wants to. And their advocacy from that, they're going to see your ROI probably for joining. We've had members like that. I'm going to skip the grow and diverse attract members thing because that's what we talk about. But I like this quote in somebody that youth attracts people of all ages, and it's really true. And it's not to say we don't value your older people. I'm slowly turning into but when you bring in youth, there's something magical happens. And so we've grown sea cadets, we've grown all kinds of things. Like, I'm always amazed at how they show up and how much energy they bring. But to the worst point about following up, how about following up with their parents? How about saying, hey, what can we do to support you? What's your ROI? What's your value statement? As to why should I trust you with my kid? These, parents are pretty worn out, they're pretty busy, whatever else. One of our council members, here right now, she brought up a great to me. Jack in the council was he tailored ROI statements, tailored issues, kind of mission statement, ROI. Need return on investment, read it, call it a value statement. So if you're pitching to, pitching to a corporation, that's the value statement. Pitching to the parents of a silly kind of person, and they've given you their son or daughter trust. How about what's the value statement to get them to donate some of their time and money? Maybe different value statement. I don't think we do very good at that. Boy, being complacent, that's a big problem I see with, and this is how councils die, right? They've got complacent, either they haven't been training, they haven't been mentoring people to come up and relieve them. So in the Navy, probably every armed force, I always want to know, take a watch, who's relieving, right, Sig? It's weird, who's my relief, unless you're the skipper of the ship. So we see councils, council presidents, unfortunately, we had one that literally died with his boots on. And was doing a fantastic job, but had no relief, and the council just allowed until Dean took each Dean's rebuilding that council. And, we were very sad to lose, Jim Guzman, was a great guy, but Jim, God bless him, they wouldn't train him to leave. And this happens with boards as well, so we're revitalizing part. Don't get complacent about the leadership you have. Don't get complacent about your board. You actually owe it, in my opinion. You have a responsibility in that leadership role, not just to do that mission. The carbon mission is comes after me. That's training for the military people know that, but sometimes they forget it. Business people know it, so many times they forget it. So just thinking about this next and the next quarter. That's where we got to bring in not just young people, but how about people of any age that they're ready to serve. Maybe they serve in one career in business, got all kinds of contacts, active. They've never been Navy leaders. Bring them in. Invite them to a board meeting, right? So it doesn't terrify them. Bring them in and just say, look, we're not going to sign you up to do anything. I like Baptist Church. Hand up and bid, right? Some in. Sir. Yes, Jim Jones, Martin Council. Wait to the mic. Oh, okay. Jim Jones, Martin Council. We're running, I've been about 6 years now. So young people with fun things. Even the airline. Right. Great point. Listen to this. Great point. Not. I even expect that they're buying because they just walking to give people faster than we. That's a great point. It happens in every organization. I've seen it in churches. I've seen it in, the CA, sit down, shut up, sit there for that's not what you do. I'm gonna let you talk about that. We're gonna go to the next slide. I got 5 minutes. Oh, we're up to pictures already. Okay, cool. So these are some good pictures. Just stuff we've done. Talking about fun events, one of the best fun events we've done is our mixer, which we tried earlier. I mean, years ago, we tried it a few times, fits and starts, don't give up on it. It's become more popular than our luncheons. We have mixers at there are various venues, bars. This is actually a luncheon presentation and thing. Sea cadets, our Navy ball, some of the plan committee on it. Our Navy ball's got to be pretty big. We did one years ago. We were just getting the council started. We had a secretary coordinating, come down and get 1,000 people at that. for us, we didn't even have a name all years prior, it's unbelievable. We averaged about, what do we average, about 500, 400, which is pretty good. And we are, we're known as the fun ball, so versus the Army ball, which, you know, I don't try to make fun of them too much because it's a hard thing, but oh my gosh. I think our motto is minimal talking and maximum drinking. We'll dance together. So, we, you know, I kind of skipped this one, but one thing that's kind of cool to revitalize the council is have a big project. It's sort of touched on. One of the biggest projects we ever did in Central Florida was, when I talked about the closure of the Navy base. It was not marked in any way. It's turned into a beautiful housing development. But at the site of the parade grounds for all those 650,000 young men and women, you know, became sailors over the many years it was there, the new power school and whatever else. We took on a huge project, it took us 10 years to do this, cost around $700,000. But we honored not only that boot camp, and not only those men and women that served, but also the staff that served there for many years. It was also the first co-ed boot camp in the Navy. People didn't know that. But prior to that, women were trained separately, so this was a kind of integration in the Navy. So people recognize the one sailor bronze here that was 14-1 in the United States, but this is unique. It's not a great picture over it. That's the Blue Jacket group, which honors basically the young women that graduated there. So that was a huge project. It kind of consumed the council, yet it built membership too. We got to be all kinds of people, art boards, artists. This was all local designing and constructed to be similar to One Sailor. And we actually have product lines and interest. So it's money makers. I don't know who this guy is. Well, that's Townie's wife with this up here. So it's a random Google answer. Is that a mixer that you did? Or?
That was the national last year.
Just go to the next one. I mean, this was something that predates any of you guys know. You might remember this because you helped build it. This was a cardboard boat race. And this was my design of Hawkeye. And it almost won the race. So this is just some goofy event. Guess what? Jeff Jansen, who's the Lieutenant Colonel Army guy I talked about, that was his idea. He goes, let's do this. And I'm like, why not? Right? Nobody, it was huge. Did it in a YMCA swimming pool. You guys. And there was, it doesn't show it in the picture, probably had 15 entrants. Some of them immediately collapsed and sank. Some of them went go down and one turn and come back. I don't think we did a great job for Ward's point about capitalizing the huge crowds. I don't know that we kind of closed the deal about, hey, why don't you sign up? We weren't thinking about that back then. We're just trying to do something to get some energy. Our Wounded Warrior 5K, 10K, Wounded Warfighter 5K, 10K is we're on our 14th annual one. Just launched in town. You can talk about this in bars and about how Pete and I met. I'll let him tell the story. But it started with this, with an idea that a petty officer came up with for she was striking the chief of the project. She said, let's do something to give money back to wounded veterans. This has become a big deal every single year. We get sometimes upward of 1,000 people for that type of event. It's become a huge money maker. Some of the years we're making at $50,000 to $60,000, $70,000. A lot of publicity better. And then this was you know, just another outreach. We did our revered friend Colonel Captain Robbie Roberts. We have a, you know, we kind of support veterans of all ages. So all the way from Sea Cadets to some of our oldest veterans. I think he was 107 pictures at the Navy Ball, or 106, and he passed away last August. A guy like that, there's people in nursing homes or whatever else assisted living. Nobody talks to those people. You can find people like that and honor them, revere them, bring them in, young people up to talk to them. He fought through every battle of World War II in the Pacific. He was also at the time of his death, the oldest living helicopter pilot. Transition to helicopters. They were scary, really scary. You see a lot of Eagle Scout, found out. Pretty cool. Also the oldest state. So that concludes my time at the meeting. Any questions? Okay. Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
Feedback going on and how they take that to the next level.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. So I'm Brent Terry. I'm our VP of membership for the council.
I'm Berkeley Terry, also the daughter of Amy Mulder. And I'm the secretary for Super Florida. So I'll let you not put in.
And also my mention is part of it. So yeah, I think if you guys have been around the last couple of days, you probably heard us hammer pickleball pretty good since you got here. But I think there's some really good stories here in terms of what we try to do through this event. So I'll come back to the podcast in a minute because there's a few things that kind of tie into this. It's all set up in terms of just new ideas, starting to run into situations in a good way that you didn't really think coming out of them. So before I actually get to this, I do want to read you all an email. This is from someone that we received from someone in Tallahassee that we received in January after we just released our third episode for the podcast. And so it was something that we weren't expecting to see, and it was an outreach that we just really weren't planning on. And I think it was a really, really cool story about the benefits and some of the value that you get from trying something that you weren't, you didn't know the outcome that you were going to get. And this fires me up every time. I'll let you add more color in terms of what happened. But basically in January, we released our third episode. We took out, it's not only Berkeley's boss right now, but she was the immediate past president of our Central Florida Council. She's still, super active and everything. So she's not technically in the president role right now, but she's still around all the time. And it's awesome. So she received this email. Ms. Go, I am a retired Air Force officer and member of the Navy League, Bay County, Panama City, who volunteered for the Tallahassee. I just finished listening to the Central Florida Navy League podcast, in which you were interviewed. I may have been in an unusual mood, but I teared up at a couple points just listening to you. Thank you for a wonderful event in this entire interview. But I'm contacting you to see if, given your obvious love for the military family at large, the younger generation, wondering if you can help send a little love to my youngest kid at age 13 to 17. There are scant military presence here in Tallahassee, constantly in search of activities we can conduct on a weekend trip to give them exposures to the military community. And so Lisa, after receiving this, shared this with the rest of the board, and basically was like, how can we help? What are some different things that we can do to bring them to Orlando and give them that experience that maybe they're not getting the maximizing full potential of their Tallahassee. So before we get into this, I was long-winded, but I want Berkeley to kind of add more color to what transpired ultimately just with this symbol. We don't know how quickly you're actually in back.
Yes, so also I'd like to add that, yes, Brenda, I started a podcast, but it's not all about something that's deep and difficult to do. The podcast people might be, that could be a big distraction for some councils, but it could just be any type of outreach, media platforms, or just getting out to the community in different ways. And so this story can transpire, it doesn't have to be a podcast, it can just be storytelling and getting out there. So go on to say, basically, we came together as a board, quickly turned around our 5-page race that's coming up that April. We needed support, CPS support. So we put together basically a weekend, CPS comes down, essentially a little field trip. Friday, we hosted an event at the Tech Room, which is partnership with the University of Central Florida. Essentially, they have simulators in there. It's across all DoD branches, so there's representation from Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and they get down and have a whole STEM night just for them, in partnership with UCF. So really, Navy League just facilitated. We didn't have to actually really provide any volunteers or any curriculum. And so we got that set up. They stayed at the Boy Scout camp overnight. Got Robinson, that connection through this time. So that works out, kind of just joining forces, and then they served and supported by volunteers, out of like a 10-day race. Win-win for us and them, all because of this story that was told through the podcast. And that's just one lens, one avenue of the great spread. We call it the gospel. But it's just an easy way. It's a really cool story. It's a small thing that happens that works out really well for us.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to share that, yeah, to your point, it doesn't need to be a podcast, but I think the spirit of having conversations, being able to share information, that's, so I guess what we're supposed to do on our own, something as a podcast, whatever, it doesn't really matter. The fact that you're doing something that should be shared. Other folks who don't know what it's going to consume, it's hard to quantify the value of that. The number of listeners, it's at that point, so. Which hasn't happened, but if it did, it'd be okay. So kind of coming back to pickleball, right? So this is something that we're doing for the first time in August. It's, I saw an opportunity. I mean, we're always looking for new things to do because they're sometimes kind of a ball, right? And it can be exhausting to say, oh, I have an event every single week, but the two major events that we do are the 5K 6K race, which happens in spring, and then we have a big ball tournament that is same weekend as the birthday ball, so we kind of capitalize on Navy ball, get them to also participate in the ball tournament the day before, so we put this whole weekend, but there is a big 6 months really between major events, so I saw an opportunity, kind of came to the board with it and figured out ultimately what these are process to bring in the bank to the board, because it's not something we've done in a long time. So I'm not sure everybody can do the process to do that, so worth revisiting now that we've done something. So that everybody's on the same page, so that something does bring them to the table, they know how to ultimately fix it, try to kick the tires on, because I was not everybody down. But I got an idea, I feel like I have a pretty good plan. Get out of the way, you know what I mean? I don't, honestly, like, so just don't be bottleneck, like, people got the energy with it. Just help them figure out how they can get there, and well, I'll do the book and I told us.
Something I'd like to add, and we mentioned it earlier, bringing in younger members, Brett and I was involved in high school, in supporting roles in the birthday ball, resume builder, which turned into eventually, which is great. But I think having that open mind for the younger generation is really important. Our board does a really great job of welcoming us in and being respectful of our new ideas, not shutting us down, keeping us boxed, where you're not, well, your new ideas are welcome. And so if you've got a comfortable enough to put a presentation together, bring it to the board, and that diverse thinking that this is never gonna work. We said, let's try, what's the ROI, what's help the community, all of it. There's so many ideas that you can put this. But I would just like to, again, plug that if you're really focused on growing the council, you should allow those new younger members to feel confident enough to share their ideas. Maybe you don't run with every idea, we certainly haven't, but they make us feel supported in capacity that we're able to execute things like this. And we're doing it on our own. We're doing it without the supporting us. But Brett and I are leading that. We built an entire committee for pickleball based off of our friends that are into pickleball and people in the community that love the game. That are not maybe members, and now they are. So we have 8 people on our committee. They're crazy members, and now they're completely plugged in. They're so excited. They're out about the ball, helping them accomplish just a continuous trickle down effect. So, like we said before, so reach natively right away, kind of captivate them with the fun event, give them the title, give them the ball, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
I just want to make a couple comments and ask you a follow-up question. First of all, I think it's important to know. The reason they've had so much success, especially thinking outside the box. When we get stuck in our ways, we get stuck in our rut. It's great to think outside the box events and create new ways. I think that's something that I think you all are doing. It's something we're trying to do. And I think that's what drives difference. I'm curious, on our events, I try to target a return five new members, 7 new members, maybe 15, it's a really big event. Around 10%, 7 to 10%. I'm curious what you all think as a target number, bringing in new members often and like. Yeah, it's a really good one. Honestly, like that's not something that I've actually considered in terms of like walking away from what they can say. Imagine we get 15 new people. It's something that we're starting to do. One of which in a way that this is just, I guess, the part of the down here, right? So like something that we've done, it's just been flat pricing. So we try to start using different ways from a pricing perspective to incentivize. So maybe in a year I'll have a better answer in terms of like coordinated kind of support different targets, coming away from the market and like that. Like in the spirit of it though, I think although I am our VP, membership chairman essentially, I look at everybody in council as our person. That's essentially. So I think it's something everybody's job. So it's everybody's job to go out there and spread that message and ultimately encourage folks to become a member. If they don't know necessarily how to kind of get everything to the finish line and help them sign up all that. You go over your VP membership, like help them kind of take the conversation further. I've had numerous follow-up conversations that probably could have happened, with just a regular, immediately member. But they want to get in front of the VP membership so that it kind of adds some legitimacy to the conversation, based on the importance. Good point. At the end of the day, you do want to come away with members, but to your point earlier, it's like we kind of know when you should do that a little bit. I want to kind of hit on that in the OLA comment. So leading up to the pickleball tournament, I know I'm kind of round about answer for you, but I think it's something that you probably should set up some targets. It's not something that we're actively doing, but it's something that is top of mind, I guess. But kind of playing into that, we had this event actually on Wednesday nights, flew out Thursday morning. This is something brand new that we did as well. It's a shared night where you get the idea. Well, we were in college, and these happened. Okay, for different organizations and people trying to raise money to support what they're able to. So, heck with it, let's try it, let's see what happens. So what we did is we reached out to a number of restaurants in Orlando. Didn't hear back from a lot of them. We heard back from one of the ones that we cared about the most. It's easy to try to think from the house, it's near the base, so folks should be relatively easy to get to if they're watching it or something like that. But what we did was we partnered with them for a give back night. So they agreed to give us 20% of all the proceeds that purchased that babies before 8 p.m. They also agreed to, even if it came during lunch, they also wanted as well. Well, if it came during dinner. It was a super rainy day, so we came away with about like $200, but what I want to make here is what I characterize as wildly successful from a financial perspective, like probably not. But it's $200 extra that we have in our pocket now. So maybe in start the day. Also, what we did is we camped out there for hours. Only support members that you do something like this. Bring a few more people with you. It's pretty tiring sitting there just looking at people for 4 hours. But the big point here that I'm trying to make though is that we position ourselves in booth so that when they have to walk around the counter, like they have to talk to us. Yeah. Well, and what I was going to say though, you're probably going to hit on it is in that moment, that is not a time for me to say, hey, you want to join the Navy? Want to join the Navy League? But that's not the time to do it. You're going to scare some people off. You're going to make them annoyed. Like they're just trying to get some food. You got about 10 seconds of these people's time. Just to say that, hey, there's a give back tonight for the Central Navy League. It's a better space nonprofit. It's donating 20% of your work. Active organization. So if you wouldn't mind, check out. That's it. Not talking about shit. It's back to the plenty seeds comment that we heard earlier. It's like get that exposure. It's just kind of peppering people in like an easy way so that when they come across this in the future, oh yeah, I think there was like a share night at OLA a few weeks ago. So when these graphics start popping up on social media, they'll give us a shot at the future things.
Great. So I just wanted to touch really quick on I guess, so the Pickle for Patriots form, or the flyer, our neighbor created it, reference flyer. No, she's like, I want to be involved in it. So she created this. We got another young professional that would love to run. Julio, she created the logo, pickleball paddle. So all these assets, it's not like I know how to do all of this. We're reaching out to the community, those resources. And we mentioned a little bit yesterday, there were so many young people that, this is fun for them to do this and do it now. I mean, it's amazing what they can do, but I've leveraged Canva to create the Get Back Night flyer, which is not just but now I know how to use different tools. We talked a little bit about ChatGPT, all of our posts on social media, everything on the website, the People for Patriots term that we literally generated through AI. AI is scary and new, but it can be incredibly helpful. We were talking with Donna yesterday about how, okay, if you want to showcase on your new Facebook page, what is council all about? Yeah, grow an entire blurb on, what they do. It's really amazing. Just to reiterate, you don't have to be an expert at graphic design and event coordination to put on an event. There's so many resources. Summer internships, unpaid. Kids would love that, and it's a resume builder. I mean, that's how I got involved in birthday well. And it's amazing. It's a national organization. I'm just use your grandkids, use their connections. There's just so many people that would truly love to be involved that are outside of the realm. Brent and I did not serve in the military. However, we're passionate about it. Our fathers did it. And people love the mission of the meeting. Tell them about it. And there's debunking the myth we talked about that before. We don't have to be in the Navy, and that's the biggest much in the net. It's a right to serve. Therefore, I'm not allowed to be in the Navy. These people work really hard to push that. No, it's about getting back to the race. And of course, it's CPS that are student groups and yes, I just wanted to mention those things. We can go to the next slide. Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, there's any questions, but this is from Kevin's episode. We don't get any efforts to get a story to discuss on. Well, and that's from one part. Not just tonight.
Yeah. Could you relate what Maddie said the other day about the importance of something on a resume? Kind of cover her as an example. I don't know if you remember that. So I was at the Belay thing with you. Yeah, because you sort of touched on it, but remind people what that was.
Yes, background of somebody when you get them excited and passionate. So we gave her a title. Yeah, the creative director. And we basically assigned the whole organization. Anyway, we gave her a title, creative director, and she's like all excited about it. And we just talked a little bit about it at the delay night. And just the resume builder, like that is people would really give them a title. And they write about it on the resume, and they are just fired up, and they get this sense of pride and responsibility, and it's just that little thing. Give me somebody to title, like I don't necessarily care about that personally, but I guess a lot of others do. So she supported those and running with it, and we're just overseeing what she's doing and approving ideas, but it's great. He's president. Thank you very much for listening. To talk at during coffee or a lunch and answer some questions I knew about. I think the conversation about some help Facebook. So, and that's what this is all about. Convention is having that opportunity to network, to learn from one another, share those emails. So at this time, we're going to ask our host, David Elford's going to come up and talk to us about the best practices here in Dallas. Once again, we want to thank you so much for hosting just an exceptional convention.
Which is about 100 miles south of here. I've been a member of the Dallas Council for about 10 years. It's all sure I share with you now. It's my dad, and I enjoyed it at the same time. He passed away about 6 years ago, but I continued to come to the Navy League because of the people that I met and always considered that my dad's military family. So I decided to continue to honor him. I would just continue to be a part of the Navy League, support the mission, which has been great. About a year and a half ago, they called and said, "You've been our JAG officer for a couple of years, would you like to be our president?" Well, why in the world would you make that? I thought about it and decided, I'm going to do that. But I told them, I said, I don't live in Dallas. You got to be the boots on the ground. You got to be the hands and the feet. I'll give you some leadership, but you got to do. Dallas Council, they said I should do that. Dallas Council was chartered back in 1944, so we're looking at almost 80 years of service to this organization, and the folks from the council are just outstanding. I can't say that very things about it. But we are an aging council, like many of the councils that we have here. We look around, we're all getting older. And so what I'll tell you is we do need some new blood, some new folks. And it's, I guess, interesting that they would consider, the Dallas Council would consider me one of the younger folks. You see my hair, I'll be 65 in July. So it gives you an indication of kind of the average age of the council.
That's still young.
Well, that tells you something about this convention. But anyway, we have, the first thing we did really, and Nancy had asked me to share some things that I learned last year and a half of being president. I'm thinking what Orlando last year, listened to all these seminars and best practices. And it's still like regular fire hose for me. The stuff you learn here is just outstanding. Speakers that talk about what's going well and what doesn't work in various councils across the country are just remarkable. I know that there's a lot of things that Dallas Council can do that you've heard about this week, but there's a lot of things we can't. You look at the list, you don't see salt water. We don't have ship dock out here. We don't have a base. We have a lot of things that the councils do, but yet there are ways that we can carry out the mission. And so we continue to do a lot of those things. We have CPNS that we support. We have JROTC and JROTC units, those types of things. One of the things that we have a good time doing, there used to be a USS Dallas submarine and a USS Dallas Coast Guard cutter. Both of those were decommissioned several years ago. So as we talked about the things we wanted to do last year, one of them was to adopt a ship. And one of the points that I think Andy was making is you kind of do what you can do. You can't do everything. Last year in Orlando, to the awards paper, was lunch, and I'm sitting at the back table. The guy that was the commander of the USS Century, and he was getting an award for something that's made for him. So They take what you got, they still got, and a wife, kids. And that ship, the Century is ported in Bahrain, 8,000 miles from the time station from here. So I got back from Orlando, and a meeting with our board, talking about shipping options. So you guys should coast guard for 6 hours, coast Texas. Finance the Coast Guard together, nobody. So I mean, I got ship. USS Sig, where's that? It's all right. In the world. Why don't we do that? So why wouldn't we? So we did. Let's picture these guys here. That's taken outside of their office base. We wanted one of them, commander or somebody you sent, come to the convention that they were underway or what, so they sent their requests and said, that was just one of the things we did. I don't want to jump forward here, because we can talk about things you do, activities, and how to get involved in things. Everything you heard, I can't have a single thing. What I want you to understand is, and I tend to look at things from a 30,000 view. Much more so than the deep dives on the ground. And all of these activities, you have to have somebody who's detail oriented to think about how we can do those things. To me, I look at the mission of the Navy is to educate people about the importance of the sea services. You have to boil it all down. That's what it is. Educate people about the importance of the sea services. We're a nation, it's important for our economy, it's important for our national security, it's important for our sea services are important. To me, there's two groups of people that are targets for membership. One is military people, particularly Navy people, Marines, Coast Guard, First Marine, military people. It's not hard to say. Tell a military person, military is their sea services are really important. They understand it. You understand that you serve. If the group of people are not military people, civilians like me, if you don't have a connection somehow to the military, to the Navy, you might as well be talking Greek to them. And so we've got to figure out a way to communicate the importance of the sea services to everybody in Dallas, even though we're not a Navy town. There's Navy. It's important for society. Everything into our council security officers. But in my mind, perhaps the bigger challenge is to be able to convey that same message they believe gospel is. Is to communicate that message to people. Everybody knows about the military. And 2 towers were hit, rivers were full, and everybody was like, down still. We never know if there's support. But the piece of that is just everyone. Have those conversations. We can have attention. The other thing I would say is how do we communicate that from a group of people like this to the next generation? Hager's talking about it, Hager's talking about training and replacement. How does that trickle down? You got this thing served. You carry this treasure, but just what we're talking about. How important the sea service are. You got experience. What you've done to serve is a treasure that you got to communicate down to the younger generation. Best way to do that, probably the only way to do that, is to engage the younger generation. And everything that Andy said about energy that young people provide, it's true. I did what Andy did. When I became president of the city, we got to get some youth leaders. Somebody knows how to do social media. Somebody that can do community partners. Somebody that can give us some ideas on how we communicate this message. So I've recruited, chiefly invited, two of my kids to be a part of the Navy League. We probably met Will. At some point, he told a lot of you in advance, but Will has been here. Ethan energized money or a picture of energy, just look at Will. My daughter Catherine is in charge of social media, because she can do that stuff with Snap. I can't. But they give us an opportunity to give us ideas about how we communicate with that new generation. It's not that you keep the older generation aside. Remember, the older generation carries the treasure. So how do we get back to this younger generation? Ideas or right? How do you do that? It's different. What do you do? What we know is continue to do the same thing, same way, expect a different result. It's not the way to do it. We're sitting at dinner the other night, during the convention with William and Catherine, her husband. And I just asked a question about this. How do we take what we know to be true about one of the sea search? It's good ideas, and a lot of we heard today. That's the key, is to bring younger ideas in to help us carry out that mission. Because if we don't speak that language, then we must be speaking it. And I'll tell you, one of my kids even made that comment. They're sitting there with folk I could listen to for hours, literally. And came out of that and said, what's your things? Well, I didn't know some of what you told me about. Maybe he might as well have been speaking Greek. Because talking about 2-star this, 3-star that, and all these acronyms and things. Somebody that has no concept. That means Japanese. So there's a language there, a way to communicate to the younger generation. This picture, well, this picture, I think, minimizes. I think what the name means now. These are the faces that people that we know, thousands and thousands of people that are serving because somewhere in the world, they thought somewhere they that are serving in the field. Everything we do negatively. Perfectness. It's people like you who at some point raise your hand and say, I'll have to. Look at the smiles on their faces. Send them the jerseys and hats are wearing from the Johnson average treatment. They're tickled to death. But somebody in Dallas, they have no connection. It's a connection back to your country. They love the stuff we send them, stuff we care package of all stuff. They cards, all sorts of. I will feel for this. And they look at the smiles on their faces. To me,